just wanted to say I'm really sorry for using so much Chinese at the start. If you guys are English speakers, the majority or the more important parts are actually in English. So please watch, please, speed, I need this. Enjoy the video, guys. But I can't lie to 你们啦 right? 我已经 try 我 try intro ，like 15分钟at least， right？ 我讲很多很好，我觉得很好笑的东西，但是 in the end 是不好笑的，所以 I'm just going to not try，OK？ Good morning 好，然后basically 这个是一个 testing，right？ 有人都问我我 invest 什么 stock，right？ Whether it is good to invest in the S&P 500，you know whether the market is in a good position right now，you know 明天会不会 AI crash 还是这样 ，you know 那个钱会不会不见掉 ，right？ 所以我就想要做一个 video you know to show what I think is one of the better opportunities in the market for 比较for 我们 safer investor 我们 safer investor， 因为我们不想看那些小小嘛，我们就看比较大。So that's why today 我就选了一个 stock 叫 Meta Incorporated。Okay, let me dive into it. So is Meta a buy? Okay， 所以我选 Meta 的原因是因为这样如果我讲一个 company like Brookfield 还是我讲一个 company like Tasmea Limited， 你们没有什么听过这样就好像不要啦，我很怕 ，right？ 所以我就选了这个因为这个应该全部人都听过吧这个人还蛮帅的，他戴他的 sunglasses not bad 所以我就想 might as well right？ 所以 the reason why we are looking at Meta is this right？ 现在comparatively to 其他的 companies right like Google Apple Amazon Nvidia Meta 是最便宜的 OK， 所以你看他们的 forward price to earnings ratio right is 21.1x which is by far the cheapest in the Mac 7 OK， 不要讲 Tesla 的原因200x 是因为他的 CEO 很厉害吹牛吧 OK but anyway so oh shit okay so what is the forward price to earning ratio right it is the share price over the forecasted earnings per share meaning 你的 company 会 generate earnings 嘛对不对 how much you're willing to pay for 那个 earnings right 所以 Meta 是最便宜的啦它 generate 一点点这个 earning 然后你花的钱是最便宜的 OK not stocks I mean stocks sorry OK so 我们要看 Meta 也是因为 right 如果我们看一下这个红色的 graph we can see that Meta has the second highest net digital ad revenues worldwide right second only to Alphabet and 我们看Alphabet 的 I mean Google 的share price 我没有放在我的 slide 里面糟 OK 等一下 OK 你们看一年我们就可以看到从172飞到330块64 USD It's an incredible rally right it was a 70% jump and I would like to say 我是个 proud owner of Google然后我去年我跟人家讲我不懂有没有人听我但是我跟很多人讲买 Google 我有买OK but anyway 所以Google is no longer cheap right Google is no longer cheap but they are number one in terms of net digital ad revenue but Meta is number two okay Meta is number two 所以我们就要看然后我们也是可以看到一些 company like TikTok ByteDance etc 啦Microsoft Bing 是 OK never mind OK 然后 whenever 你要 analyze 这个 company 你要看一下它的 revenue 是差还是好 right 然后我们可以看到 Meta 的 revenue 是这样子慢慢一直上所以是好的 OK the revenue growth is good if the revenue growth is bad right you will see this kind of lines right it will be very volatile go down go up go down go up you don't want that you want a revenue growth that consistently goes up and you know gives you a peace of mind okay and then now let's look at the cash flow from operating activities meaning 这个就是现在 Meta 他们有很多 business 嘛那个 advertising right 然后可能你减了一些operating expenses 过后你会拿到 cash cash 就是钱cash 啊，这个就是 Meta 的 operating cash 哦。如果你可以看到哦，它的 operating cash 是，you know 一步一步向前走慢慢上慢慢上这样。So you want this lah in an investment basically. You want to see that the operating activities are generating enough cash, generating good growth, and this is what Meta has, right? And historically speaking, right, if we can look at Meta's median price to operating cash flow, it is 17.74, right? 现在now the current operating cash flow, I mean price to operating cash flow is only 15.42. So 为什么我要给你们看这个 metric 呢？是因为我们做 investment 的时候，我们要 compare 现在的 price comparatively to 它自己嘛，对不对？我们不要好像apple to orange 的 comparison 这样啊。所以我们就可以看到，其实这个现在for the amount of cash that Meta is generating, right？它是 considered 快便宜的。you are paying quite a low historically, I mean quite a low amount historically to get the same amount of operating cash flow, which is a good thing. Good, it's cheap. OK， 然后你们不相信我不用紧 ，OK， 我们去看一下 Yahoo Finance，OK， 这个是 Yahoo Finance 的人讲了，OK，Yahoo Finance we can take a look at the price targets of Yahoo Finance, right？ 我们可以看到哇，他们全部都forecast 800、815、820、800、825，全部都很高 ，right？ 然后你可以看得到the analysts are all saying that there's a strong buy. I mean, it's a strong buy. It's a buy, right? And this is some sort of like a confirmation bias thing. Is like, or at least these bankers and these hedge fund people, they are actually agreeing that Meta is a cheap stock lah right now. Okay, and I will walk through the entire reason why they might think so and why I personally think so. Okay, so what is Meta? Okay, Meta 就是 Instagram, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Okay, so I'm sure we all use WhatsApp and Instagram every single day, no doubt about it. And if you don't use any of these apps, you are living in Bikini Bottom, bro. 我不懂啊 SpongeBob SquarePants 住的地方。Okay, the Meta ecosystem consists of 3.98 billion people， 就是有3.98 billion 的人在用这the Meta ecosystem. So what it's saying is there's a lot of people that are using the app, and therefore I would say there's a moat lah, because it's not easy to get everyone to just suddenly leave Instagram, right? It's been here for what, 10, 15 years. And anyway, big network moat. Okay, and then obviously we can talk about statistics all we want, right? 但是我就问我朋友how many hours you spend on Instagram per day 然后他们讲3个小时这样然后我问其他的朋友，他们也是讲2到3个小时这样。So it's a very long time to be spending on a single app, right? If you think about it. And then WhatsApp also, people, businesses, they group chats, it's all in WhatsApp. So it's very sticky, right? Everyone is using Meta's apps. So just by virtue of this alone, you should be aware, whether Meta is a good investment or not. Okay, next. So, 我有去 dig 一点 right? And I dig through the FTC's recent lawsuit with Meta, right? And I found out that, this is just a fun fact, right? That Reels has become the primary use of Meta apps. So, as you can see here, people have spent a lot less time watching friends' content and stuff, but have been watching Reels a lot more. Okay, bruh. 他们看 Reels 的时间 double 在 Facebook， 他们看 Reels 的时间 triple 在 Instagram。所以你们一直 send 继续 send 就看你们都不要看你的朋友的东西我不会是没边这样。But anyways, next. So the big question is this, right? How does Meta actually make money, right? And I'm sure 全部人都在这里都蛮聪明都知道是 advertisement 嘛，对不对？我们看一点 reel 了过后我们 scroll 我们 scroll Fortnite content 的时候 scroll 然后加其他 game 的时候 就他会 show ad 出来哦，他就跟你讲，诶，you know Fortnite 最近有 free，I mean 有什么比较便宜的 skin 啊，所以你就会去买哦，right？但是 the reason why Meta really is something else, right? And it's so powerful is because of this. 他们有这样多 data 嘛，对不对？There are so much data, and I think a high level view, and to not go into big details, is that they have an algorithm that is able to 用 psychology 啊，I'm not even kidding by the way，他们用 psychology 用 scientist predictive algorithms 啊，to understand 你的 mood，OK，、你的 mood，你 currently watch 那个 reel 的 mood，还是你 scroll 这个时候的 mood，I mean your intent to purchase，meaning 如果 let's say 你一直 scroll 啊，你一直 scroll 一样的东西，right，一样是 Fortnite 的东西，你可能就，and then 你已经看到那个 bundle 了，right，你 scroll 那个 bundle，然后你一直看那个 bundle，一直看那个 bundle，它可能就会 detect that hey，you know this person is very likely to want to buy this bundle, right，然后它就 show 你这个 specific ad，right，你就很 likely to convert 了嘛，对不对？So Meta's recommendation system is actually powerful, right? It doesn't just look at your history or your metadata, right? It looks at the amount of time you spend pausing on each reel to model your intent, right? It creates a specific customer persona specific to you alone. So those people that scroll a lot, right? 你们小心一点哦，不要乱花钱啊 right? But basically, the view is this, right? Meta has this proprietary recommendation system, Advantage Plus and Gem, basically. And it uses AI to understand your preference, know what you want, know when your purchase intent is high, and sell those ads, right, to advertisers, which leads to higher profits. 这些 ad, right, 他们卖给这些 advertisers, right, 是贵的, it's expensive. And I will illustrate this here. And so if the specific ad, right, that is being able to be shown to the real scrollers is very highly specific and has higher conversion rates, right, Meta can charge a higher price each ad to the advertisers, right? Because it makes sense, the advertisers also are willing to pay more for each ad that is able to convert, right? So this allows Meta to have higher revenue, right, and also better margins because of the higher prices that they can charge each ad. Meaning, what this is saying is the better the algorithm, right, the better the Meta advantage system, the better the algorithm, okay, the better the quality of the ads, correct? And thus, the better revenue Meta will have, right? And this is a sort of a foreshadowing, right, of what Meta is spending on, right? So in our heads right now, we would think, hey, that means that Meta really has to defend this algorithm, right? Because this algorithm is one of the only things that's making them money. You know, Reels is everywhere. You can use TikTok, whatever. But it's this algorithm of high quality that is able to keep Meta in the game, keep you hooked. You know, you everyday scroll, scroll, scroll. It's not because of your fault, it's because of them. They are keeping you addicted. Okay? Next. Don't quote me. This is what the FTC said. All the evidence, in fact, shows that the quality has increased, right? The ads have improved. That only that way the company can sell more ads without pushing users away from its apps, right? And if you go and read the document, they keep reiterating that Meta has increased the ad quality. And if we take a look at, okay, 我不要 spoil lah, but basically greater ad quality over the years because of the AI. Okay, and I ain't reading all that, but this is more technical. And what Gem does, they can learn from a much longer history of user organic and ad interactions, a deeper and more accurate understanding of the user's purchase journey. So basically it models you lah, right? And then knows your purchase intent, which is a big, big, big thing in advertising. Okay, so now we go into the more interesting part lah, right? Because everyone knows about advertisement, everyone knows about reels, But why is the market pricing Meta this way currently, right? Why is it so cheap? 14 times price to operating cash flow and 21 times PE. Cheap, right? As we can see just now comparatively to Google. Dead as 在 October 的时候 is it October? 我忘记了 but basically Q3 的时候 right, in quarter 3 of 2025, they missed their earnings by 5.66. Incredible miss, by the way, big ass miss. I mean, on first look 你看到哇这个青色一点点上一点点上一点点哇 very good 啊 they beat earnings 然后这个 suddenly 掉到这样多哇笑了怎么办啊 and then you sell 咯 right, and the stock dropped by 11% by the way on the day of the earnings release, so you can tell that investors were really spooked by this, right? But if you really dig deep and you really understand accounting 的话 I mean yeah 其实这个 earnings miss is just accounting tricks 吧 it's just accounting magic, right? What actually happened is this, okay? 哇 accounting 要讲 okay, so 我们也知道我们的 dear Donald Trump, right? 我们的黄头发Donald Trump 他讲 let's reduce corporate tax bills, right? Through the One Beautiful Bill Act, OBBA, okay? So 他们 reduce tax bill 的时候 Meta 也是不用 pay 这样多 tax 嘛对不对 So Meta 本来有很多 coupon 的 Meta 有本来 it's called like deferred tax assets, meaning they had a lot of opportunities to pay less tax, right? And these opportunities, these coupons lah, right, they are quantifiable, right? Meaning, let's say now they have to pay less tax. These coupons are worth less, right? Because they reduce less of the tax burden, or if essentially they can't even use it because the tax is so low, they can't even use the tax assets, they can't even use the coupons. 他们不能用的，他们就是他们有这个 coupon 啊，本来有 worth $16 billion 的 coupon， 他们只能放在 basement 到 because 他们不能用，因为 tax 太低了 tax 太低了 right? I mean, from what I understand, it's like this lah. So, in more technical terms, DTAs are only valuable if you expect to pay enough tax in the future to use them, but they are not, right? And it is the present value of all the future tax savings. But if there's no tax savings because there's so low tax, you know what I mean? Okay, so essentially this is what happened lah. The earnings of Meta took a big hit, and the headlines was like, oh shit, Meta took a big hit on earnings. But it's just accounting principles, not that big of a deal. And the reason why I'm particularly intrigued by Meta is because I know for a fact that there's a lot of like retail money in, because you know how would it drop 11% based on this on paper metric? If you tell me that okay the stock dropped 11% because of their fears of other things, okay lah, fine. But I think this definitely contributed a significant amount, at least to me. Okay, and then the second reason why the market is pricing Meta this way is because investors are very worried about high spending, right? 他们讲 Meta 一直花钱，不懂会不会有 return 回来。we don't know about the return on investments. And 他们讲 if you listen to the earnings call, 他们讲我们明年又要 spend 更多。然后你听到这个 investor 讲哇鸡蛋糕，他们又要 spend 钱了，他们钱进来都不够，他们一直花，那你就怕哦，你这些人就怕卖哦。But if you remember, the whole reason that they are spending this much amount of money is because they have to, like, if they don't have the best proprietary AI or the best algorithms, right, and they have to depend on other people's AI, right, 他们就造 their margins will be cooked, right? And an example I can give is during 2022, right, when Apple 换他们的 data 的 policy 的时候，你看那个 Meta 的 revenue stream 跌到这样 GG 这样 because these hyperscalers, right, they don't want to depend on other people, because 你如果用别人的东西的话，你就要 pay 他们钱，你 pay 他们钱了过后，你的 margin 就跌了。So Meta doesn't want that anymore, which is why Mark Zuckerberg has continually reiterated that it is a lot better to overspend than underspend. And I agree lah. Okay, obviously this is discretionary, because 如果你全部人的 idea 跟我一样的话，这个 stock 就不会 undervalue 了。我觉得是应该的。Okay. Next, 这个是 one of the reasons why 全部人很怕这个啊。 right? Because 我们的 dear Mark Zuckerberg 他 invest a lot 啦在Meta 的 Metaverse 那个戴眼镜那个 reality virtual reality 就一直输钱，一直输钱然后你就看到这个你就有一个 bad taste in your mouth 来讲，哇啦，他输钱这样多you know maybe 他这个也是输了啦。But I don't think that's the case lah. Like I really don't think that's the case because I think this one, it is not a new division, right? It is spending on its current core business, which is Instagram, WhatsApp, and Facebook, but improving it instead of this, which is an entirely new domain, which I don't know what this guy is doing, but he's pretty smart guy. So I'll give him that lah. You know, I don't know this one, not the best, but I would say people make mistakes. Okay, so 我可以讲的是这样 right? When they have rolled out their AI implementations, Gem and Andromeda, right? They have already seen results, right? There have been a 5% direct convergence in Instagram and 3% FB feed convergence, which is quite high, if I'm not mistaken, right? And their cost per lead has also decreased. You know, their ad qualities have increased, as you can see. So you can see that there's already results that are showing from the AI spending, right? So I would say it's not redundant, right? And I wrote here that they can always cut losses and keep a high margin business. Right now, 他们 advertising business 是一个 cash cow 如果 let's say 1 to 2 years down the line, they find out that you know, the investments are not coming back. So they can slow down the investments, even though they are like locked into very long energy contracts, but you know, they can still slow it down and still they have a very good advertising business, right? Which is what I think, okay, first of all, this is my opinion again. And if you listen to 他讲话，他会讲, every time we think we are aggressive in our spending in compute, we realize that there is demand that we cannot fulfill because of the lack of compute. What he's saying is, every time 他觉得他已经很 aggressive 在 invest 在 infrastructure, right? 他们才发现到, that's not enough, right? Which is why he keeps investing and investing and investing. Okay, so people want to ask the 问题也是这样, right? Because they're spending so much money to train their llama model, right? And also ChatGPT is spending so much money on training AI. And then we as users, right? We wonder, is AI a commodity? Right? Let's say now I want to search for an information on the internet. Right? Let's say I use ChatGPT. I use halfway, and then the pro search it stops working. Right? I will immediately switch to Gemini. Right? Because it essentially serves the same purpose. It does the same thing. There's not much of a big difference. Correct? So I think the AI intelligence itself, meaning like the models, is going to be a commodity for sure. Right? That's why I think ChatGPT is gonna fucking fail. I'm just gonna say it. But anyway, but this is the question here, right? But Meta has so much data on human beings and so much proprietary statistics and predictive ability that they can use that AI on that data to be able to be an ad demon, right? It's not about the intelligence, in my opinion. It's about using the intelligence in their business and being able to integrate it into their business to be able to capture the most amount of clients or the most amount of customers or to keep you scrolling for longer and longer and longer, right? It is not about the LLM itself. It is about the predictive ability of Meta, which is the core mode, in my opinion. So, and also, I also talked about this just now. Like, they don't want to depend on other people, right? They build all these data centers because they don't want to depend on other people. Let's say they depend, then let's say the person wants to cut them off, they're fucked, they're cooked. So, yeah. Anyway, next, and then one of the hidden superpowers of Meta is also WhatsApp, right? There are so many users of WhatsApp. My grandma, your grandma, my mom, your mom, probably all users WhatsApp, right? And you wake up in the morning, you see the good morning text. 那个 good morning 然后有很多花的 I don't know if you guys have seen before. Let me see. Good morning. 这样啊，这样 right? So a lot of people use WhatsApp. Very sticky. All whole age range from 4 to 75 years old. And what Meta has been rolling out, right, is monetization of WhatsApp, right? 现在他们没有什么用 WhatsApp to 赚很多钱过，但是现在他们开始了 right? 你如果我也不是很 understand 啦，讲真的 right? 他们怎样赚很多钱，可是有时候你去 Instagram 然后你要买东西，你是不是可以好像按 set up a WhatsApp chat，然后你 send 那个 message 了过后他们就 charge 那个人 that set up the ability to have the WhatsApp chat 了，他们就 charge，然后你可以 ask for information 的时候，他们会有preset 的那个好像 what is my shipping information etc right，我们看这里， so they are able to charge all these businesses because 这些 business 他们知道他们 set up 这个 WhatsApp chat 的话，他们会有better businesses rolling in 啦，because is end to end 的一个 direct business to consumer 的一个 interaction with one click. So 我觉得如果 WhatsApp is able to be monetized properly, it is also one of the bigger revenue drivers of a Meta's business, right? So it's a kind of a superpower 啦 right? 如果我们看 Gemini 他讲的话you know, analysts project that WhatsApp specific revenue API fees as status ads are to hit 6 to 10 billion annually by the end of 2026, right? 然后他们讲AI usage 你 text WhatsApp 那些 business 的时候，他们用 AI 来 reply 你， right? 他们就这个 service Meta sells to the businesses. So I think it's good lah. In my opinion, I think WhatsApp having such a huge user base is what Meta can really utilize. Okay, 所以我们现在就来看一下 what are the risks， 因为一定有 risk 的嘛，So the risks are this, right? 我们刚才讲这个人花很多钱，他们花很多钱，怕吗？ Right? So we are scared of a financial margin collapse. 我们怕 that when the core spending on infrastructure 一直上， right? But your business has nothing to show for it. 就是你惨了啦，因为你是花钱，但是你没有金钱嘛。You're cooked lah, right? And the second one is 你怕 that we are scared that what if hypothetically the AI infrastructure evolves at such a rapid rate, right? 现在他们 build 这样多 GPU 嘛 data centers 他们花很多钱了，他们已经买了，他们 secure energy contracts, they also have 已经那些 contractor 他们全部有 greenfield 的contract 了，不要玩什么 greenfield concession whatever 啦 right? So 他们怕 that let's say 这些东西他们的那个 GPU 突然变得很小个吧，他们不需要 build 这样多就炸哦 you know 他们的 asset 全部这样浪费掉 right? And then the third one is regulatory lah, right? I told you guys that the FTC is trying to really take down Meta because they think that you know Meta is a monopoly. Okay, so like the investment fund member I am, 我就放一点 mitigations Obviously investment fund 我不可以放这些东西 right? 但是我觉得我们 ADHD 的一个时代就放下。 So for the margin collapse part, I think the quality of ads increasing, right, which I've talked about, and the algorithm improving is able to counteract the higher spending, right? Because in the future, Meta is able to charge higher prices, and higher prices leads to higher profit margins, right? So hopefully it will be able to counteract that. Stranded asset trap, I don't know about this. I don't understand enough about the AI infrastructure space. But 我觉得 I think that if they were to spend so much money on research, you know, they're hiring so much research people, Alex from Scale and some Chinese people, they probably have a lot of capital and a lot of exposure to the newest tech. So if they were to be able to create, if they if there were to be improvements in the AI space, they should be one of the first ones to be able to take notice, right? That's what I think lah. So they can change their plan um, intermittently. Third, sorry, is regulatory, right? I think it's super unlikely lah because last year they also talked about Google wanting to break apart Chrome and stuff like that, and it never happened. I never thought it would happen because it's going to hurt consumers. Let's say right now Instagram is forced to be sold to a third party company. The ads would be significantly worse because of the lack of algorithms. And then people would fucking hate being on the app because the algorithm is shit. You don't see that. I mean, you don't see the things that you want to see. You don't um get the ads that you want. You know, the joy of being on Instagram is also seeing the ads that you want, right? You want to buy things that you want, not buy things that are fucking irrelevant, right? So, okay, now moving on to the fun part, which is the valuations. You know, now we are going to see how much Meta is actually worth. And if you remember correctly, the analysts think, I mean, had a price target of around 700 to 800, 900 lah, right? So we'll see what I think Meta is worth today, right? So, so I kind of fucked up my DCF in Excel, and I won't show that. And the reason is because, you know, normal discounted cash flow models, you want to use the free cash flow to the firm, right? You want to use that, and then, you know, you discount it, you forecast it out and then discount it to find the value of the company, right? But the thing is, I don't think that free cash flow is relevant here. I think that because they're spending so much on capex, and a lot of it is going to investing, right? Only some of it is supposed to be maintenance, meaning the core business, right? Sustaining the ability for them to generate ad revenue is somewhat skewed by this very high amount of capex, which is into investing, right? So let's say in 1 year they stop investing, right? This amount of capex, I mean the amount of investment capex will go back straight into their cash, right? Which makes them a better cash business. So I think it's more fair to value them with a bit of pinch of salt lah. I mean, not pinch of salt, sorry, with a bit of leeway lah. You know, we give them, I mean, we use, you know, the owner earnings instead of using free cash flow to the firm. So we can see from Gemini's calculation, you know, we can see that the trailing 12 months revenue was 189.46, and we find that, you know, the owner's earnings is 93.43 billion, right? And this is calculated from, you know, 80% of the maintenance capex, because we are trying to kind of not really factor in that much of investment capex, right? So I think the key here is, if we look at the 5-year DCF projection, we can see that my point of view, and I think it's very conservative, the growth is 18%, right? And if you remember correctly, historically, or this year specifically, 2026, Meta is projected to grow its revenues by 21%, right? And so I would think that the growth of 18% is rather conservative, and the fact that it tapers down, right, 18 to 15 to 12 to 9 to 6, is also rather conservative, right? Because in my opinion, if the business were to grow and they were to keep their big position, the growth should not be tapering down, right? It should probably maintain at 20, maybe even increase, not sure, but that's definitely more than possible, right? So this is a rather conservative DCF, I think. So we can see that the total present value of the stage 1, which is the forecasted 5 years, we find that it is 522.12 billion, right? And then we find the terminal value, which I think is a growth of 3% moving forward. So 6 goes down to 3, and then it goes on forever lah, basically, to find the terminal value. And we find that the discounted terminal value is 1.55 trillion, right? So we find that the enterprise value is 2072.12 minus the debt and add cash, and you find that it is 2.11 trillion, around there. And so the intrinsic value per share, in my opinion, not financial advice, is 815.16. Comparatively to the current share price of $647.63, is a 27% upside. Is correct, right? My maths. Probably. If it's wrong, then sorry. Right. And that's the base case. I mean, the bull case, I don't really want to do lah, but it's probably a lot higher than 815 lah, right? If we are assuming like a 20% growth, then it will probably be around $1,000, which is the bull case. Anyways, now let's look at the bear case. The bear case is assuming that wow, Mark Zuckerberg spends all this money and there's no return on investment, right? The revenue growth drops to 5 to 7%. You are hit by a shit ton of depreciation because of the massive infrastructure spend. And in year 4, you realize that, you know, all these chips are obsolete and then there's better chips. So bo pian lah. You basically did a really bad investment decision. Possible, but I think unlikely, right? So in that case, if you waste it, right, your fair value is around 450 to 480. So you're still gonna lose like around 100. Around 150, $160 of your money on on your capital investment lah, which is bad. But comparatively to the upside and on the balance of probabilities, you know, I would say for me, it's okay. Okay, so in conclusion, buy or no buy? You know, let's look at this beautiful man, right? I don't know if he's human or not. I hope so, but he boxes now, so he's cool. I cannot give financial advice because I'm scared that you guys will hold me financially liable. I would like to say that I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm very serious about this, by the way. And I have no capacity to give financial advice. This is for educational purposes. Okay. So you guys decide lah. I think it's a good business, and if you were to start investing, right, you can still buy S&P lah. Like the S&P is going to return around. Goldman Sachs projected the S&P to return around 11%, 12% for 2026 because of a lot of pretty decent tailwinds lah, right? Because like the administration is also very lax in terms of like business. So if you want to be more conservative and you don't want the specific business risk, then you buy S&P and make 11 to 12%. But if you wanted to take a bigger risk, you know, learn more about the company, do your own research lah, look into Meta, there's more money to be made lor, more than 11 point or 12%. But don't put into FD lah. FD is 3%. Just put into S&P lah if you want, you know. 11% lah this year, 11-12% forecasted. Okay, anyway, take care. Let me know if you guys want to see any more videos. I have fun doing this, and I hope you guys had fun watching also. Sorry for the long ass video. I'll see you guys again. Bye.